Hello and welcome to episode 18 of our Timberborn Update 7 Folktails Hard Mode playthrough here in Cycle 26, Day 7. Got about 2 days left before a drought. Last time, we had a tremendous time getting more of this vertical farm taken care of. Let's hit pause real quick because there's a couple issues we do need to fix before our drought begins. And yes, I have no idea how I managed to miss this, but these floodgates need to be closed. And now they are. We're going to hit pause again, make sure we don't let any more time go by. So, a couple of issues you guys decided to inform me about in the comments that we're really going to wish we would have taken care of sooner is specifically the height. Come on, let me click on this thing. The height on the sluices that this is set to, we really should change this a lot because the drinking water reservoir that we're pumping out should not be the primary thing that is, I guess we could say, fueling our aquatic farm here. It should be a backup source. That's why we started building this up as a reservoir, and we're going to continue with that today. But let's go ahead before I forget, and we're going to set this to close, let's say 0.55. And the reason for that is because an aquatic farm has to have, turn this water back on, has to have at least 0.5 height of water to function, and as it stands now, this is at 0.81, so we don't need to be sending any nice, clean, pumpable drinking water in from our main reservoir to fill the plants when, well, we have this. So if we go ahead and set this one to 0.8, which it currently is, then that's going to be a lot better for us as we continue moving around. And then we also have this thing right here that I'm just going to permanently close for the time being, because we got a lot of stuff we got to fix with this. It's kind of slipshod, if you will, the way I built a lot of this stuff. But that takes care of that issue. And then, well, you know what? Actually, we could, since it only has to be 0.5, we could set this to 0.75. Probably a little bit of a smarter idea. But outside of that, there's some stuff with the dam that, well, we're in the process of fixing. But it's going to take a little bit of time to get it perfect, so we might as well go ahead and just put this path back in so that, you know, the beavers can actually reach stuff, and then they also have to be able to build this. And I know it's not as tall as it's ever going to be over here, but we do need to make sure we're doing what we can. Let's go ahead and get this set in place. I will just put both of those in. Hopefully no silly billies. You know how it goes. Typically ends up being some sort of a problem with all this. But we'll let them get to work on building stuff. I will go ahead and put the path across the top of this because that's as high as that's going to go. And we can move on to the next. I got a comment in the last video asking if we had anything else left over here because this used to be one of our scrap metal locations. And nope, all that's left is just this one pile that has scrap metal storage that I haven't gotten rid of because, well, we're not currently filling what we have, so I don't think that was an issue. And if we want to do something else here later, we can. Like, for example, when we're rebuilding the castle walls, it's going to be very convenient to have the zipline station already over here. So we can just kind of leave that alone. And, of course, we have all of our stuff over here with all these trees that we haven't cut down yet because we haven't really needed them. So, want to keep that going. A couple comments about this. A good thing that we had this set up in the correct area. Eventually, after getting all this stuff taken care of. But this is operating a lot more efficiently. Even so, we do need to try and get into bots at some point soon-ish. We have the science to do it right now, but we don't have the industrial capacity currently, I don't think. So that is going to get pushed toward the next episode, probably, where we're going to be a little bit more stable for that. But eventually, this does need to be bots only because we got 10 incapacitated beavers, and this is paused, and it's about to have to be unpaused. Well, maybe, actually, maybe not. We have up 746 metal blocks. We might be okay for a little bit. Moving back over here, there's a lot of work we have to do still with the aquatic farm turned multi-level farm. I know. If you're expecting something else, I'm sorry. But we do have to continue putting in all of our dirt around these bits here. But once that's taken care of, we can actually start turning this entire area here into just a big reservoir, increase the height with the help of, I guess, the farm itself as part of the wall. But all that stuff just takes time. and I'm not going to make you sit through all that nonsense. Taking another look at the, well, not right now, taking another look at the notes. Most of it has to do with what I've already discussed, but there are still a couple of small things that you guys asked me to do, so we will take a brief second here before we dive in. People asking to check for leaks around the farm. I'm pretty sure this was the cause for most of that. But thanks to our layer peeling tool, we have very easy access to that. And like I said, this isn't technically a leak, but the way it's currently set up, it can have other stuff fall into it, so we do need to put the dirt in. A couple people pointed out that I did not put in the dirt in these corners here, and now it's probably too late to do that because I took the paths away. So what we can do is we can just unplant those very corner pieces, and eventually, if we remember, we can put dirt back in there just to combat a little tiny bit of evaporation. But for right now, this is looking pretty good. Somebody made a comment that it, I think it might have been about the graphic more than this layout, but that they said it kind of reminded them of like a nuclear reactor rod layout or something. I don't know, but I thought that was kind of neat. So now that we have all of that out of the way, let's talk about what we're going to do today. 7 minutes into the video. Yeah, I know. You know how these go. We have to finish getting this whole, I guess we can call this the second level, fully complete, which for me is going to mean putting in the platforms and then putting in all of these overhangs and metal platforms and all that stuff. Now, I said we have 750-ish metal, but that's really not a lot, because each of these metal platforms takes 90, and we got to put in a lot of these bad boys. Lots and lots and lots of stuff. So we got 10, we got 20, we have 22 right here, and then everything around the outside. It's a lot. So that is going to have to be something we slowly work on and add some space up here. And I don't know, I guess this is where I can ask you guys. I don't know how tall this needs to be for our current consumption. I think, honestly, this level by itself with another one on top that can have the other crops, or actually there are no other crops. We've already planted all of them. So maybe this level by itself might be enough, who knows, but it'd be kind of lame to just have 2 layers of this. So I will solicit your input on that. Fortunately for everybody, the process of building another level is going to take so long that we have plenty of time to decide how many more of those we want. But I am going to go ahead and get the rest of this metal bit popped in here so we can have that taken care of. Get all of our dirt in place. And those guys can keep working on all of that as time allows. And we can keep going around the outside. But I will time-lapse a bunch of this when we actually get into the nitty-gritty out of respect for everybody's time. So, now the big question. We have 1 day until the drought, and we are down to 3,000 water. How did that happen? How did that happen? This needs to be set to supply. I know these are both set to obtain, so I think it probably had something to do with all of our beavers being super injured. Because we've got, we've got hauling posts. We have at least 1 or 2 of these that are full. So they should, there we go. There we go, get these guys pumping. It might be too late now to really make a huge impact, but we do need to replace the rest of these water pumps with the large ones. Remember, we've talked about it a bunch of times. Large water pump every hour gives us 15. The small water pump every hour gives us 3. So this employs 3 beavers. To get the same amount of output, we'd have to have 5 of these, which we do. So if we can, just kind of put stuff in a slightly, that's the wrong spot, put it in a slightly helpful location, even if it's not permanent, then I do think that is worth it doing. But you know how it goes. Just let them do what they got to do. Get everything accomplished. And I think, even though we only have 3,400 water and we're staring down the barrel of a possibly 30-day drought, now that we're no longer filling this, when I say this, the aquatic farm, from our drinking water reservoir, it probably should get a whole lot better. Hey, we got an idiot. All right. Well, hey, the beard booster naming mod is still, not a thing that exists, so Nobody gets to feel bad because this isn't named after anybody anymore. This is one of the default names. So, gonna be a long, lonely time for this beaver until, you know, everybody else decides, hey, you know, maybe we should not have this beaver stuck in here. Or I could just decide to be nice and put in a ladder here. Somebody probably has made a mod to prevent this from happening. 18-day drought, by the way. I know Unstuckify was a thing for a long time. I have not checked to see if it works on Update 7. I probably should. At this point, it's Timberborn YouTuber malpractice that I haven't taken care of that. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and get time-lapse going here and start the process of putting in the rest of this next layer. Save you guys the grief of watching me spend 30 minutes clicking on stuff and waiting for different things to get built and then so on and so forth. We got a lot of good feedback about the new quote-unquote time-lapse format in the comments of the last video, and I do think that is what I'm going to try to stick to for the most part if I can help it. Camera mostly in one spot, doing one task, and then just being done with it. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of this taken care of, see how fast they can, you know, do most of the stuff without me having to move around, and then we'll come back on the other side and see what we got done. Okay, so coming out of the time-lapse, right as they're finishing the last of this dirt that we put in on the center, I guess we can say center 9 platforms, because the middle technically is a platform, even though it's not made of metal. But let's talk a little bit about what I decided to do about halfway through the time-lapse here. You're going to notice I put down a single platform and took out the 5 that were previously there, and that is, of course, so we can put in another 5x5 metal platform here. But you might be saying, you didn't do that at the bottom, and the reason for that was because I wanted to have all of this space plantable with minimal evaporation. I think. It's kind of hard to remember a lot of stuff, but that was the way that we had that set up, and as we moved up to this next level, the thought process originally was that we would just continue doing that because the outside ring wasn't going to be irrigable anyway because it was super far away. But then I remembered, wait a minute, we're making a reservoir that goes around about half of this thing, and that means that these are going to be able to be used to grow stuff. So by swapping out these 5 supports for this single support, we've gained 5 additional planting spaces here, 5 additional planting spaces here, and then depending on how we want to do, you know, these 2 sides, we want to have a reservoir wrapping all around this way, then we could get 5 more here. I don't know about right here, but I figured that would be a worthwhile thing to take a look at. And yes, it does cost more. It's 90 pieces of metal versus you take your 5x1s and you just build, I guess technically it's the 6x1s, and you build 5 of those, and okay, you're using a lot more metal, but you're also using a lot less wood, which, you know, it doesn't really matter that we're using that much wood, but it's a single item, and it's going to look a whole lot better from underneath. Not that we're ever going to look at it, but it's going to keep things nice and organized. And when I put in these paths all the way to the outside, then that gives me a nice place to just stop it right there. Again, not that any of this matters, right? But just gives you something to think about a little bit. And there we go. So obviously we want to be able to make the most out of the land space we have, and we want to do the most with the most different amount of ideas and suggestions that you guys have. And some people have brought up, hey, like, why didn't you do that? So I figured there's really no harm in trying both ways, just because we can't. We're honestly already producing too much food anyway, so we can have a little bit of fun with it. But I also kind of had the thought that since, fingers are on the wrong set of buttons again, since we're going to be enclosing the outside of this anyway, it really doesn't matter if all of the dirt is going to be touching the rest of this, because we're probably going to have to move that out of the way anyhow. But we need to keep adding height here, and that's a process that's going to take quite a bit of time, and I don't think we're going to be able to get it finished, or even probably more than halfway started before. What does halfway started even mean? What am I saying? Before this thing comes back in. So what I'm going to do, and we definitely should have done, because we're going to cause unbelievable amounts of flooding, is I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to say blast off corner pieces here. And we're going to put in dams just for overflow purposes because, well, we really weren't prepared for a whole lot of this stuff. And they're taking forever, and I mean forever, to build a bunch of this. So we kind of ran out of time to mess with this kind of stuff here. I just really would like to avoid flooding our aquatic farm. Ironic, I know. But we have so few beavers that can actually work right now because they keep getting injured in the mine. Imagine that. Oh, hey, there's also no power here because we don't have the windmills going. We're going to put gravity batteries in, and then I completely forgot. Oh, well. Moving on. But we got to get something done here, and we did get a little bit of stuff taken care of here. Obviously, there's still tons of work to go, and these are both in here, so I can go ahead and remove that mess. Consolidate our workforce just a tiny bit. Eventually, though, I would like to have most of this bee reservoir wrapped around here. Kind of section off our water wheel area here. You will notice that the gravity batteries are still holding with the help of the windmills. Ignore that, most of this stuff is paused. It ends up being okay. But we seem to have done decently well for ourselves. Now, before we come out of this drought, let's peel this back a tiny bit here, so we can see all of this. And since most of this is built now, and I think we're going to be able to build from the top as well, let's take these extra paths away, at least in these areas, and we can start planting a little bit more, because I see our amount of carrots is quite low. I think the carrots are going to actually require a little bit more space than we had originally anticipated. So let's kind of help that process out a little bit by filling out more or less the entire space that we had decided to allocate to the carrots. And they're probably not going to be able to plant these. Oh, no, they super are. Okay. Oh, there's no way they can plant those, right? Okay, I don't see them rushing down here to put those in the ground, so I guess that's fine the way it is. But the carrots are looking pretty bleak, and actually the raw potatoes aren't looking too hot either, but we do have 1,200 of those. So, no time like the present. So, just pop those in pretty much everywhere that we possibly can. And remember that this is now open for the purposes of planting. And we do have to continue putting in other dirt, but this was the emergency please don't flood my aquatic farm solution. And they got most of that taken care of, so that's good. They're working on that as well. So maybe my paranoia was a little unfounded. Just a touch. Oh, nope, I didn't finish. I didn't finish doing what I was going to do because I got distracted through no fault of anyone but my own. Me. Anyone but me. Boy, I need to not. This is what happens when all you do is play beavers. Your brain gets beaver poisoned. But I digress. So this is all going to be doing just fine here. I am going to, in the interest of, not making mistakes, put this corner piece in here. That's not supposed to be facing that way. Put these in like so. And we'll have to check the distance to... Okay, so I was wrong. Man, that's going to be... that's going to be fun to get this taken care of without getting into the wrong spot here. Is this accessible to everywhere? It looks like it is. Okay, so if I do one of these numbers... Okay, they can build that, which should allow them to get to most of the rest of this. Just get these corner pieces in. We'll be alright. We'll be alright. That's already in the middle of whatever they can come in from above. Alright. Oh boy. Oh boy. So they're still working on that. Obviously, it's a gargantuan, enormously huge project that is not going to be quick. But we're making progress on it. And we're also very, very slowly making progress on a reservoir expansion. Although, honestly, we haven't run out. I know it was only 18 days. But you know, things are looking to be pretty good here. Oh, I remember what I was going to say, and I didn't remember to mention. Had a couple people suggest that we should, you know, move this out of this area, which, you know, we're already planning on doing. But somebody had the idea, since the bakeries and stuff don't require power, and these guys do, but it's honestly not that much. We could just put a windmill or something. To put those on the top level of whatever this farm ends up being, so we could have all of the food processing, and grills also, have a lot of that stuff happen here instead of having it spread out. You know, we have to reclaim this space. That's something that we need to keep working on, but I think that would be a cool idea. So feel free to leave your feedback on that down below in the comments. But I see an opportunity, you know, long term, for us to be working on over here. What if we took, since we're not going to be looking at this, it doesn't really matter. Just put those platforms down there and then covered this. Ah, nope, wrong height, wrong height. Why did I pause the game? There's no reason for me to pause the game doing this. Put these guys here, and then we just finished this off. I think they can reach all of that. Okay, we'll just fill that in because it doesn't matter. And then we just expanded the reservoir this way entirely, especially since this stuff is going to move slowly, one bit at a time, with the help of some dirt, because we can, and this is always going to be clean water. Plenty of opportunities for us to, you know, do stuff that makes sense. This is the same height here, so we don't have to worry about that being a problem. You know what? No, we're smart. We have the option to do intelligent things. Note I said option, because that's very frequently how that ends up not happening. But let's put that in there, because now they can come up and they can just build all this at once. They don't have to wait for something behind it to get done, and we can blast all this out. But not this bit, because that's what channels the bad water out. We'll just all of this here, just close this off when the time comes, so on and so forth as we continue. So we should have power coming back through here very, very soon. That'll make that area a little bit more optimized. And now we only have, you know, 20 capacitated beavers, but we only have 10 vacancies, which means we should have more builders become available pretty soon. Okay, we got a decent bit. We got 16 right here. Should have 20 overall. I kind of don't want to build any more housing because I feel like we should be focusing on redeveloping this to look nicer. But at the same time, we do need more housing, so I am going to put in one more lodge there, just so we can, you know, get the numbers up a tiny, tiny bit, and then continue looking at the rest of this stuff. Like, I kind of want to apologize for how much time we spent on this vertical farm thing. I know there's probably a bunch of you that are irritated about that, but this is, I think, basically the centerpiece, the magnum opus of this whole playthrough, so I want to make sure it's actually, you know, going well. It's having adequate amounts of attention paid to it, so on and so forth. But to get the rest of this taken care of here, I think, just go ahead and get that corner put in. That's 270 metal right there. They've already built most of that, and we are going to have to redo this when the time comes, so I can't put anything there yet. But if we just start doing the corners, that should take up most of the metal we already have. Just make intentional bits of progress here whenever we can. And then we have to, of course, put all the dirt in there, but remember, it takes time. It always takes time. So, I'm going to put us in another time-lapse here in a little bit, but before we do that, I did want to acknowledge a friend Davy in the chat had a really cool idea for redoing the housing in here. If you are a long time, and I mean long time viewer of the channel, back to, I don't know, probably about 2022, we did a series where I try to do a little bit more like aesthetic-minded building, and we made beaver mansions, I guess is probably the best way to describe it, where we had these different stories of houses all connected around courtyards and swimming pools and stuff in the middle, and, you know, just nice design details. So he brought that back up and had some suggestions for different recreational things and food and beverage, all that different stuff, all in one spot, and I really like that idea. I don't know how scalable it is to have with like 150 beavers all in one spot, but I think if we spend a little bit of time talking, planning about that, maybe next episode or the episode after, I think we could have a pretty nice end result in terms of making something that looks a little bit less like, all right, here's your suburban sprawl for your beavers, and more like, hey, this was actually intentionally designed and has a lot of appeal to it. So I think that's cool. I definitely want to try and get that taken care of, but it's day 3 here, and we have to do our overflow, or else we're going to have a lot of problems. So let's go ahead and make these super high priority so they can get that taken care of. We did already, quote-unquote, flood-proof this whole mess here, so we don't have to worry about that. This was already taken care of. But if it gets any higher than right here, then we're also going to run into issues on this part of the map. And, well, not over here, but we're going to have to do some thinking about how we want this to look, how tall we want it to be. We can demolish out some channels so that nothing just kind of sits in one spot. And then at least 1 or 2 of you left comments saying that the drains for this should be 1 level below the bottom of this reservoir, which I do agree that that is a smart thing to do, but we've already kind of blasted all this out, and if we do that, we're going to lose a whole block of height. But the intent with that is to just empty the entire thing into the aquatic farm and have no issues. So we can kind of experiment with channeling stuff different ways and see if that makes things a little bit better. Oh, bad tide time. Perfect. But I'm willing to workshop ideas for that. If you have any more specific stuff you'd like to say about it, I obviously am all ears. We'll just have to, take it one step at a time and see what works, what doesn't work. So, it's everybody's favorite time once again. It's time for another time lapse where I try not to move the camera too much. So what I'm going to do to hopefully allow that to happen, try to position this in a way where I don't have to move it. I did have to move it a little tiny bit to get some of the other pieces in place. But we're going to try and put in as much of this next level as possible, continue going around the outside with our terrain adjustments and everything, and get ourselves in a little bit better position to have everything ready to go. So, we'll come back out of that, and then there's a couple things I want to do at the end of today's episode. I know it's a short one, but, these things take a long time when you do time lapses in them, and I only have so much time to play beavers in a day. But we're going to address a couple more things after this. Alright, so finally, an entire bad tide cycle spent in a time lapse in one spot. That took a little bit of restraint, but I did it for you because I promised you I'd do it. Anyway, let's go ahead and peel back our layers here. We do still have plenty of water in the aquatic farm. It is at 0.5, aided by our reservoir, which is now basically empty, but it's refilling, and so is this. So let's talk a little bit about what I got done while the time lapse happened. This is now continuous, this entire thing here. I blasted this channel, so any water that is stored in this entire area can be used instead of just this bit here. We can now take advantage of all this space. Obviously, there's still lots more to get done, but this is going incredibly slowly, and I am running out of time to record. So what we did do over here is we did get a lot of the metal and a lot of the dirt put in place. But we're going to have to make a couple of choices as we get this finished over the next episode or so. Chiefly among those is, where am I going to put additional farmhouses? Because 2 of them, it's not cutting the mustard, folks. We're going to need a lot more. We're going to need probably at least 2 more. And we did have a comment that made me think a little bit about how we're going to position stuff here. Somebody said, hey, you got these things in the corners, these pieces of dirt that probably aren't going to be irrigated. Why don't you just put more farmhouses and then a ladder stack or something to get in and out of stuff? And I thought, you know what? It's an interesting idea. I don't know if it's what I want to do. So I figured I'd ask you guys, what do you think? Do you think it's worth putting in an efficient farmhouse in 1 or 2 or 4 corners, and then somehow figuring out how to tie it into the path network, whether that's just running paths straight into the center here, or if we're putting in a second set of ladders? Because remember, we do have the outside here that doesn't have anything currently going on. We can get up and down and maybe figure out some sort of other way to get the beavers in and out. But I thought that was worth asking you guys, because I'm not entirely sure if I do or do not want to do that. But if you guys want to see it, if you guys express enough interest, we'll make that happen. We'll figure it out. If not, then that's okay too, but I figured I'd let you guys know that we can think about that. Outside of that, we do have a lot of stuff still to do over here, but I elected not to mess with this yet until we know for sure what's happening with this. Because this obviously would give us a tremendous amount of extra space for water storage, and we obviously have this area over here that needs to continue to get, well, not blasted out, but removed with the help of dirt excavators. So there's so much stuff to get done. This, unfortunately, is going to require a lot of camera work moving around, so I might have to figure out a different solution for that besides a time-lapse. But I figured it was worth bringing up. We do have plenty of water still being stored. Our aquatic farm is still nice and wet, and our water storage is full. So at the very least, before we say goodbye today, we can add another large water tank, which I will pop here. Just in time for a drought too. Let's get this pumping. We just need to have more space for water to be stored so they can continue pumping and not have to worry about whether or not the reservoir is going to run out, because you know as well as I do that it probably will. But this is a good time for us to go ahead and start wrapping up today's episode. I know it probably isn't as much progress as you might like to see, but I'm trying really hard to make these a little bit more cohesive in terms of different stuff that we're doing and not just jump all over the place. And if you like that, let me know. If you'd rather we just go back to the old style of you know, running around like a chicken with my head cut off and attempting to just get whatever done, then that's fine too. You guys are the ones that watch the videos, so if you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. Definitely let me know if you don't like it, because I don't want to be making stuff that people don't enjoy. Right? That's why we're here. We're here to enjoy the beavers, have a good time with just a nice, positive, uplifting community, and relax and de-stress from all the other garbage that's going on in the world right now. But all that being said, I am very thankful for you being here. It's a lot. It's a lot to do beavers every single day, and I'm going to end up having to take a couple days off this next couple days to try and figure out a whole bunch of other stuff that I've been putting off to the side to make these videos continuous. Like, I still haven't finished the computer. I put it together almost 2 weeks ago. Actually, as the day of this releasing to the general public, it will have been 2 weeks since I put it together. I have not even installed Windows on it yet. There's so much going on. I just gotta take a couple days and just say, you know what, get it done, get organized as much as I can, which is not very much, but you know, you do what you can with what you got, and hopefully we can get some good stuff coming down the pipe, because I know people are anxious to get back to the other series that we were doing before, like the Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then Oxygen Not Included, Satisfactory, all the other stuff we were trying to do live streams of that we just kind of shoved to the side because we got the fun new Beavers update, which has been great. But there's so much stuff we've been neglecting that we just have to take care of, both me personally and on the channel, so we're going to try and get all that stuff situated. I hope you can understand that. But I really do appreciate you, Beard Boosters. You already know. You power the madness. You paid for the computer. And I am incredibly, incredibly grateful. So I'm going to try to do right by you and make sure that everything is good to go. All that being said, that is the end of today's episode. And we will be back in this series hopefully Tuesday. I don't think I'm going to need to take Tuesday off as well. But we're going to see what happens. Whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your time today and the next couple days, I guess. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you later. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.